Yo, everybody, it's Heat Override, and I'm ready to bring the pain for you this week. Oh, yeah. This is going to be the sports edition. You know what I'm talking about? Wearing my hat, my LA Dodgers hat, Dodgers Nation. That's how we do it. We got, it's going to be another great year for us. But first, I wanted to make sure that everybody knows where this is coming from. This isn't going to be your normal Bring the Pain. This is just going to be Bring Pain, having fun. We're going to talk about, DFS lineup builds and all that good stuff. So everybody else has talked about it. I'm going to talk about it because why not? Everybody does it differently. And sometimes I think that's one of those things that really has to be brought back up every so often so that people can try to relate, calm back down, or come back down to earth, or maybe try something new in their life. That's what the thing is if, eventually one day you got to stop playing them dollar pieces and you got to step to the $5 pieces. That's what it's all about. But it's great to see. I hope everybody gets ready for this. It's going to be a video premiere. So I hope everybody here right now, thank you for attending it. It's going to be really fun. I'm going to try and make this as fast as possible. I will also have the audio version of this available, or you are listening to the audio version through that. So let's make sure that go download, follow me on Spreaker, like the actual app, hit the like that. Yes, get me on my Patreon too. www.patreon.com/bring the pain and stay close to my social media. I got some things for you. But anyway, so let's talk about it. Lineup building. That's the first thing I want to talk about. So generally, when you talk about building lineups, you go into either your DraftKings or FanDuel app and you hit, classic 9-player, whatever player, click, boom, start it, and you got all your positions. Baseball, of course, you're going to have your pitchers. Depending on the site, of course, FanDuel runs the 1, DraftKings runs the 2. Draft Street used to run the 3. That used to be real fun, man. That would give people so many fits. I missed that 3-pitcher Draft Street format because it was nice throwing in that relief pitcher. And if you came in at the end of like the 8th, closed out the 9th, you got that. Oh man, you got so many points, and he would be cheap. They were always cheap. So that's the thing is you don't always want to think cheap, but you want to go big. But now that you got a 2-pitcher format, so you have to remember when I'm talking to you, I might bounce between like a 1-pitcher or a 2-pitcher format. So you just do that. And then whatever anybody else is the sites that you guys can do that I can't do here in Pennsylvania, that's the way it is. But lineup building, look, lineup building is a key factor in any daily fantasy sports player's arsenal. You got to have this in your arsenal. There's people that buy lineups and you see the lineups, you might learn lineups. You might know some sports too, but when you really come back to it, what you really want to do is you want to make sure that you are prepared. So one thing that you can always think about is to be prepared, you have to make sure that you're ready for that next level. You have to make sure that, hey, how am I going to do this? So I'm going to go over some different lineups and different kind of like strategies people use just to bring up. And there's so many different ways you can put it together. But building a lineup, if you know how to build a solid lineup, you could literally build a lineup just off of favorites. You don't even gotta look at the favorites. If you know what you're doing in any kind of sport, say me betting in basketball. I used to be really, really good at basketball. Some of my biggest wins have been in basketball, but I don't always play basketball because I'm really busy with martial arts and everything in my life. I can't always be around that 7 o'clock lineup block. I need those lineups now. And if I don't get those lineups now, then I've got nothing for you. And that's how I write my content. Of course, if you're going to play a small slate like during the NFL season, when I go and I play on DraftKings and I just play that Sunday only, so that slate is done before the Sunday night game goes. If you're winning, if you're losing. And if you're winning big or you're winning, say, hey, you just doubled up your money, tripled up some of your money, then, take a little bit of that money, 30%, maybe 20%, boom, invest it into that Sunday, Monday game and that Sunday only game, the primetime players stuff, that captain, that really helps you. That is how I win all of my qualifiers for the Millionaire Maker. Yeah, they only give it out to the top 2 now. Back in the day, I'm pretty sure they used to give it out to 3 people on DraftKings, but now they don't. So that being said, you have to always remember that you need to go forward and that you have to make sure that you're ready for this. And you can take, once you learn how to build a solid lineup, you take that lineup and you can go in any sport and you can at least cash game, play it safe till you get the things, working. What's really been working for me is because I've been busy and I'm busy around those times. Is I come in, I'll play just the 10 o'clock game. Hey, I'm cashing more than I'm losing, and that's fine. Because in those games when you only have a 2-game slate, and if the minutes go different and something just swings and you just don't get those points. But then sometimes you do. Most of the time, you're going to get right about there. Me as a player, because of my lineup building is what I'm talking about, gets me into at least that top 30% no matter the sport. Okay, so my best sports get me higher than that all the time. So double ups are just easy to cash. So we'll get to some of those lineups, things. But the upcoming DFS season for baseball is looking great. I mean, right now, everybody's going Juju for Gallo and Bobby Witt Jr. Like, I get it. But we are seeing full rosters that are trying to play out. They're trying to make sure that they stay fresh. And I'm really happy. I haven't missed anything today. Maybe I did. But I haven't seen any big significant injuries out there yet. So I'm really going in this season. What really bothered me last season was the pitching rotations and things like that. You would see people leaving the game, literally pitching a gem in the third inning, only to have somebody else get the loss or get the win later in the game. And then your seasonal teams, this was brutal for your seasonal teams. You literally had I had one of my worst years last year because it just by the time the season started and I had Kershaw and I had Kluber and there was just DLs and it didn't work out for me. And normally I'm a very, very solid player, but it just with the pitching rotations, I was expecting at least 7, 6, 7, 8, 9 innings for these games, sometimes some complete games. I just did not get that. So, that's something that I had to watch last year in a seasonal standpoint, not a DFS standpoint. DFS standpoint, you have more pitchers to your, arsenal, so you can move that out. So let's go over some different kinds of lineups. Okay, so there's the stars and scrubs lineup. And what a stars and scrubs lineup is exactly what it is. You take a bunch of $2,000 players and you take a bunch of, anywhere between the $8,000, $10,000 range player and you throw them in. And you got to get like 2, 3, 4 of those guys in, and then you can fill out maybe a couple mid-level guys and you get that stars and scrubs. It is a very good, solid way because if you can pick, like when my buddy Doc Roto, actually, when he called it on the air, the Chisholm call, as it's been named. Plus, I have that baseball card, so it's really cool. When Lonnie hit the 3 home runs and the 12 RBIs, it was just, what? Like, there was so much about that game. And what was crazy is that, like, Doc made that the early so-called, people were just like, but here's where we're going to throw in, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this in a few seconds too. Actually, I'll just fade right into it. Hot streaks. Lonnie going into that game, the Indians were a little, they were on their little rest period. Lonnie was coming in. Lonnie was going to play these games right there in the middle of the week leading up to that big lineup. So I had been on Lonnie, and even in my seasonal league, I had Lonnie just starting. And all of a sudden, it just went bananas for all the people that used to be part of the, our old place that I can't really say all the time. But it was about that call. It was about the camaraderie we had, the times when I used to call in to Doc, give out these crazy lineups. But one thing that always made me gravitate to Doc was his boldness of just going with the craziest player in a great system, in a great position, on a great day with the great weather, and just go like, Lonnie was like 2,000 that day. That's a star and scrub lineup. And that's how developing also watching hot streaks, watch those hot streaks. Somebody's just been pitching lights out. They're going to pitch lights out. Watch on those double games. Like if you see somebody go up against a really good hitting team like the Dodgers and kind of blanks them 1 or 2 times and you get that third game in like a 15-day span or something, watch that because that's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for you. Sometimes you get lit up. But that's the thing about it, is doing that. Let's move along. The mid-level guy. This is the person that throws in the 4,000s and the 8,000s and the 7,000s. So you get a nice broad spectrum. Most of the time, you're going to want to build to the top of the lineup, because this is DFS, people. You need more at bats, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 position is going to get the most bats. That is what's going to happen. We all know this. If you play, or if you're new to this, this will be something for you to watch. Okay, so you're going to see all that. Move along to the analytics side. There's just players that just follow analytics, hit, go to the robots, the optimizers, and bloop, and bloop. And there's nothing wrong with that. These people win, these people lose, these people 50-50 most of the time. But one thing a lot of people have to understand is, back in the day, it was so easy. Like 10 years ago, DFS and everything like that, when we were all getting into it, you could literally throw down $1 and win, 4 times the amount you can win now. And this, of course, all the placing was wide open too. So it was like, to play a 50-50, it was just dumb, because you could literally place in the top 40% and double your money plus some. And now it's not like that so much. You have to also watch. You have to watch your contests, what you're entering. So that's your analytic guy, kind of like the hot streak guy. Usually analytic and hot streak guy doesn't really get along together, but you want to do that. Now, my personal thing is a hybrid lineup. I like a couple Chiefs guys. Then if it's like a DK lineup, I like to get that one pitcher right there that's going to get that win around the 8,000-7,000. That's mid-range to high range. Okay, so that's like a B plus right there. You get like a B plus pitcher, and you get like a C plus pitcher in a good spot at home, wind coming in, especially if you got a fly ball pitcher. You got to make sure you cover those bases, and you can get those points. Like in the past, I call myself the crappy pitcher whisperer, because I can look at the crappy pitchers and I'm like, Gibson, Gibson's in a good spot. But the thing is, he's got to watch sometimes with Gibson. That dude don't get strikeouts, man. That dude's, I don't know. Maybe y'all got a good Gibson story, but man, I've seen Gibson go 6 innings, get 1 strikeout. I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? Like you can't strike anybody out, bro? Like, more than one guy? You got to feel bad for that guy that gets struck out by him. That's like John Jay or something like that. They brought him in because they thought he was going to have a great matchup, which sometimes that's one of those sneaky guys. John Jay getting in there. Those are the sneaky guys that you want to the one guy for the Pirates that's been doing really good. Mercer? Anyway, that is one big thing that you have to remember when building your lineups, that you got to develop your personality, what fits you. And when I get into, the types of players, this is going to help you understand what I'm talking about. Okay. So you got to develop your personality. You have to understand, if you have a better talent for identifying that talent in the mid-range, the low range, or the high range. And there's nothing wrong with that. Believe me, there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody is different. It's the way it slows down for you, and the way it helps you in the end make more money, which makes people like me and everybody that has ever done this and spoke this and talked about this on their podcast, on their shows, on their any platform, that you literally develop your own personality. My personality is kind of like a blend of different ones. I'm very aggressive. Bring the pain. Ooh, yeah. So you see that I'll go for those crazy pitches. Like, I'm not scared. I will put a $4,500 quarterback in on the Millionaire Maker slate. I will put in Kirk freaking Cousins. I will put that man, and sometimes I don't like it. But sometimes that man gets 3 or 4 touchdowns and has a good game. And if you can get him at that price, that sets you up for so much better, like sets all your lineups up for scoring, as we know. So I'm never scared in the NFL to go with a cheap guy, a $5,000 to a $6,000 guy, because you have the opportunity there. Like Matt Stafford, and sometimes, and yeah, he's not like the most crazy. He's not Patrick Mahomes, but he can still have those games. When he has those games, those touchdowns, you have a touchdown, 6 points, per touchdown lead for a quarterback, man, that's points. That's points for people. And the thing is that's what you need to really understand is going into baseball, you got to get your pitcher right. FanDuel, you got one pitcher. It has to be right. So at that point, you want to kind of look at the mid-level. You don't want to really go down to the low end unless he's in a really good spot. Then you do it. Then you do it. You know somebody's got some nasty stuff. He's coming up. He's getting called up for this a start over the weekend. Yeah, start him. You might prosper. Most of the time, you want to take your money. Catcher, I always punt catcher. I always punt catcher, man. I remember this one time. It was Will Middlebrooks and AJ Brzezinski, but back to back this one time. I just massive, awesome lineup there, just scoring mad cash. I think I had like Scherzer going, and because I had Middlebrooks in there and I had Brzezinski in there, they were like minimum. And I think Middlebrooks, I think he was third base, maybe second. See, sometimes I like to go cheap at second too, and that also goes with your shortstop. So depending on what kind of player you like, say you get more points out of that shortstop, but then you're going to go with somebody with like Corey Seager, people like that. And then of course when you roll it over to the outfield, you get to pick your Mike Trouts, you could pick your Bryce Harper's, but I have bad luck with Mike Trout when I pick him. Some people just don't do it for us. And I don't know what it is. I see me up by 10 with Mike Trout one day in first place. One day, one game left. I'm in first freaking place, and he struck out all night. Next day, cracking home runs. Dude, he hits one ball. I lost by 0.75 and had slipped all the way to ninth place. But and that's back in the day when strikeouts would get you negative points. So I was like 0.75. If he would have just hit one ball, I wouldn't have lost. And this is the things. That's just daily fantasy wrapped up in a knuckle bunch. And knuckle bunch. Ooh, yeah, the only things you get with the bring the pain. Ooh, yeah. Go Dodgers. So there's your personality. Get it, find it, work it. Let's move along. Types of DFS players. Mr. 50-50, the guy that just always does the 50-50s. He's sitting there. He's happy with it, and he's really happy with it. He's like, yo, I took 20th, but I doubled my money. I'm like, dude, always throw those 50-50s. Always throw at least. If you're only a 50-50 person, throw one lineup in $1 tournament just in case. $2 tournament, $3 or $5 tournament, throw it in. I swear to God, you will thank me later because you will get that one time, especially with NFL only really having 17 weeks. And in that 17th week, some people getting pulled. You really only have 16 weeks of really good daily fantasy to really go off of. And that being said, you got to remember that that's huge. That is huge. So being able to gauge those players helps you. And 50-50, and to be able to go 16 weeks, you can put up $16 for a whole season, enter that tournament as a 50-50 guy. But hey, you do you, brother, man. You do you, 50-50, bro. I mean, you dropping 200, winning 390, 380. Hey, it's more power to you. I like the big hits. That's me. And then there's Mr. Head-to-Head guy is actually one of the funnier ones. That guy that you get the messages in your inbox messages, and then you see the other message from your app, and you're like, what the hell is going down? I'm like, boom, boom, it's challenged you to a head-to-head. And it'd be like literally every slate. It'd be a 50-50 slate. It'd be a head-to-head slate. And I'm like, dude, what? And I get there's a strategy to that. Some people just literally go in and they'll throw up like, I don't even know if there's so many limits because I don't really go into it too much. But you'll see these same players will be there 1 out of 2, 1 out of 2, 1 out of 2, 1 out of 2, 1 out of 2. It'll be Painzilla. That's not my name, by the way. It's always Heat Override. Ooh, yeah. So, you get to this point where you're like, okay, Painzilla's going to lose some of those because somebody's going to run into some guys like me, right? We're going to bring the pain to Painzilla. But he's going to beat a lot of other people and shark off them, and those wins should put him in a better position overall. Most of the time you see these guys throwing $50 to $100. You got to watch that stuff. It's good like a 1 to 3, so you can get that if you have a 1 to 2 payout. It's nice you get that extra pay in there, but you really gotta watch that. Plus, you're annoying, man. Those are head to head. I don't need 20 head to head, invites every single day, bro. I don't need it, man. Like, okay, you want to go head to head? I'm trying to do this and trying to do that. Like, I don't need to get through your little head to head things, right? Right? Am I right, people? Come on. All right, tournament guy, me. I'm a tournament guy. I love playing tournaments. I always cash and top payouts of tournaments all the time. That's why I just don't play as many double ups. But over the years, now it's a little less than a double up sometimes. So you really got to watch. You might, like, let's say you throw in $1, you might be getting like $1.50 back or $1.90 if too many people got your lives. And that's another thing too, is now you got to watch. All these people got bots. So usually you only have like the beginning of the season to really cash until the robots catch all the plays, get everything all situated and jumbled and put into a system, and then bam, you're done. But you can still cash. So that's why I want to tell you, like, you want to start out like a little aggressive and then maintain your bankroll. And then by the end of the season, if you've won enough, I say switch over to the betting side of things and just finish up your double ups, cover your bets. Make sure you do that stuff because, you don't really want to fall too much into it. And you can see why a lot of people can be addicted to this and why a lot of people get burned out. Like me, at the end of football season, I can't even look at hockey or basketball. I can't. I just can't do it. Cannot do it. It's just too much. Dollar game guy, Mr. Dollar game guy. That's all he plays. Dollar games. I'm guilty of that as well. I'm very guilty of that. But I do DFS more of a thing to make a little extra money for my family to go on trips, and also at the same time, I like to be competitive. So for me, I want that competition. I want those contests. I'm not really in it for the big money. I should be in it for the big money, but I don't always go in for the big money because it's more about the love for the sport. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah. And then we got the small slate hero. The guy that only plays 3 or 4 game slots. Slates. That guy just never above. And some people are very comfortable with like an 8-team layout. Those are sometimes the best layouts because they shrink down that factor and you get it into, it's a little easier for them to read. But then again, that comes back. It always goes back to, your lineup building. Like, how to build a lineup. You go into like what happened in the Super Bowl. You build a Chief lineup, you build a Tampa Bay lineup. You build a couple that have a couple weird players in the middle, sit back and watch you score. That's what you do. And you'll either get it right or wrong, or you'll just cash and get your money. Tell you, that's how I get those millionaire makers, man. Throw them quarters in, boom, you just light them all up, get to that dollar where, like, I think the top 30 or 50 get the millionaire maker. That's still a good trade-off. And you will get to that point. And then you get the weekly league person. He's like, hey, I'm just going to do this weekly league. So they just do the weekly leagues. They probably play double ups, but they're weekly league guys. So they make a league with 10 people and they play that. That's a newer option on a lot of the sites. So it's really cool. So a lot of you, check it out. Look at these things and do remember that this is gambling. Do not become highly addicted to it. Do not lose your house over it. Do not put up your child's, retirement fund either to try to be like, I'm going to hit it big. And then you have what happens in the Super Bowl, like Patrick Mahomes just didn't do it for you. And now you've lost some of that money. And that's recovering your banks, on saves. That was great for me to see both Kansas City, and I called it Kansas City and Tampa Bay to meet in that Super Bowl because those were my preseason buys. Like, those were really nice ones that I thought if they got in the right mode that they could go to the Super Bowl and win it. And it paid off. I got them both there, and I had bets on both, and they were both about the same amount of wins, so I did not lose going into that Super Bowl. That's how you bet. That's how you do things. Be comfortable with your players. Be comfortable with the type of player you are on that list. Try to be different players, but stick within your region. Start out with double ups. When you see out of 100 people, you're scoring in the top 40 to 30, why not try a triple up? They make those, they make the 5 ups, try those. Of course, you're going to get pulled up a little bit, but you're going to make a little more money, and then just move up gradually. And then just like I said, throw it in on a tournament, throw $1, $5, $10 in on a tournament. Boom, you'll have that lineup. You're like, That one lineup, because you're going to get that. You're going to get a 50-50 lineup where you pay like 10 50-50s. You'll finish third, second. If you put that one lineup in, $10 lineup, you probably almost made $5,000 to $10,000. That's what we're talking about. That's what makes all of you money. So be smart, play within your means, and be ready for this baseball season. The robots, all of the statisticians, all those optimizers do not have any data yet. They have to go off of last year's. They can go off of matchups. They can go off of things. You have an advantage for the first month at least. I always say 8 weeks. I always say 8 weeks of football. They caught up a little faster this time, but you have to make sure that you are like a chameleon and that you always change. That you make sure that you hold it together and that you get that. And be smart. Take breaks. If you ain't feeling it this weekend and you don't like the lineup, don't play it. Don't play it. Like, there's just times that, like, I held on to, one of my millionaire makers because I just didn't like it. I wanted that good lineup where I knew I was going to score easy. It was easy to pick out. Boom, through that. It was off a quarter. And, I'm bringing back $60 off of that because, I placed in this amount, or, you bring back, you can bring back $1 million off a quarter. Wouldn't that be a hell of a story, people? You enter a quarter, you get the qualifier and do it. Somebody did it. Maybe somebody didn't. I don't know, because that would be the first thing I would say. Anyway, remember, this is for fun. You don't want to drain yourself. Because when you do that too, you don't think right. All right. And that's why I'm a pen to pad guy. I always get my ideas down. I write them down. And that's what you get with on my Patreon. And that's what you got on my Patreon plus my bets this year. That was something I've thought that I finally changed over. And that I figured that if you wanted these players, and when you looked at it, you're like, all right, well, I can boom, 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 boom. Lineup is made, sit back, win your 50-50, win your triple up, win your quadruple ups, win it all. Win it all. Because I gave out some fire lineups this year that just every year I have crazy lineups that just one of a kind, score really big, I play really heavy, and then I get all of our trip money, our concert money, everything. That's what it's about. I mean, right before Christmas, I had a big few $100 win, which I only played off like a couple bucks, and it was like a Tuesday night. Like, come on, man. That's what it's about. Play within your means. Play smart. Always follow your budget. They always say try to stick to around, 20, 25, 30% of your budget. So, let's just bring it down. If you got $100 in there, play $30. But I wouldn't even, if you don't feel comfortable playing $30 first, you got $100 in there, go and play 15 to 20. Play $5 lineup. Go grab some dollar lineups. Get a hold of the things. $2, $3. Boom. When you hit, that's what you do. You'll gain confidence, and then that's when you go on a hot streak. That's when you'll notice it. Like, you'll just be hot. You'll like this day. You'll have all this, and then just like what happened every football season. But what really happened this last football season, I was just in cruise control the rest of the season. That is how you do it. That is how you bring the pain to your lineups. That is what we're going to try to teach you going forward on Bring the Pain, because normally I don't do a lot of baseball content. I'm a great football guy, and baseball, I'm good. So that's where you're going to get a lot of different plays. Like I said, I can pick out those crappy pitchers for some reason. I'll make sure that you get that content this year as well. And, follow the Bring the Pain. See it on my Married with DFS page as well, too. So stay up, stay in contact, get that going. And hey, if you want some nice, beautiful Bring the Pain merchandise, look at that. Ain't that awesome? I mean, Bring the Pain. Nice big explosion, coffee in it, to make sure you have an excellent Friday night. I hope you enjoyed this episode, everybody. Have a great one. And always remember to bring the pain. Ooh, yeah.